What up, boys? We are back. Another reaction video. Again, coming to you from Storified. I don't want to keep using all their videos, but I was just I was cruising around looking for some like scuba diving stuff because that tends to be pretty popular for like disaster tragedy videos. And they tend to be pretty interesting stories, but a lot of these channels tend to get things pretty wrong, especially when it comes to like nuclear or diving and other topics that I know a little bit about. Not going to pretend to be an expert, but I kind of have some surface level, knowledge about this stuff. Um, so this is actually a video about the Yuri Lipski tragedy. If you've never heard of this guy was from Russia. He was, I think he was from Russia. He was somewhere Eastern European, that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure he was Russian. He was actually traveling to this is the Great not the Great Blue Hole, that's in Belize, to the blue. There's a blue hole in Egypt. It's called Dahab, Egypt, something like that. And this is a very unique blue hole because you don't have to travel by boat to get to it. You can actually go to it right. It's right against the shoreline, and you just walk in to the area and just kind of it just drops off from the surface about 300-ish feet down. And also very unique about this blue hole is the fact that it has an exit. So it makes it very dangerous for divers because a lot of divers are just regular scuba divers. They're not on any kind of specialized air, and they will dive down and say, "Oh, look at that! I see the exit. I can get there." And then they try to get there, and they end up dying. And this blue hole in particular has a very high death rate and a very tragic story behind it. And this video or this story in particular has a lot of tragedy behind it because this guy Yuri Lipski actually filmed his own death. Essentially, I don't know if the full video has actually been released, of every, like the actual full recording up to the very end or past the end, but he pretty much recorded his own death, and you can find that online. It's not gruesome or anything. It's not, you don't, there's no gore or anything, but when you think about the situation and what happened, it is pretty bad. So this guy again traveled from Russia, came over to Egypt, wanted to dive in the blue hole, and tried to find someone local to assist him with that. And if I remember the story correctly, he actually found a guy who I've actually seen an interview of who talked about him. Wanted to, just basically he only had like so much time in Egypt, and he had to go back to Russia or whatever, and he wanted to dive in this blue hole and actually go through. They call it the arch, where it's like the exit that you actually come out of. And when you come out of that exit, keep in mind it drops off to roughly like 3,000 feet of water. Drops off very quickly. So you're going from a shoreline area over to this blue hole, and then going 300 feet down, and then once you come out 300 feet down, it drops off quite a bit. So not a great place to be if you have issues diving. So you can go look at maps, diagrams of the blue hole itself. It kind of like goes down to like this hill that kind of curves down and goes out through the arch, and then you go out. And but yeah, so this guy tried to find someone local to help him out with the dive. The guy said, "Look, you can't go down a regular air. Regular air, of course, like an 80-20 nitrogen to oxygen mix. You can't go down that deep with that sort of air. You have to use a specialized mix. It's called trimix, which is a mix of nitrogen, oxygen, and helium. And if you don't do that, so there are some other mixes you could possibly use, but that's just a general thing. But if you don't go down with more specialized air, you're probably going to either pass out or get nitrogen narcosis and freak out, or just go delusional and end up dying down there. And if you have any issues while you're diving and you're undergoing nitrogen narcosis, or you're undergoing hypoxia, you are going to be really fucked. It is not going to be good because diving, it's already dangerous enough when you're going, especially 300 feet underwater. That's super dangerous. if you're not in the right state of mind, plus something is going on, you have an issue with your equipment or whatever, it's not going to be good. And that's pretty much what happens here. I don't want to give any spoilers yet, but yeah, we're already 5 minutes in, and we haven't even played the video. So this could be a long one. It's only a 9 minute video. So I think the original video from Yuri Lipski is actually longer than that. So again, if you want to go look at it on YouTube, it's on YouTube. It shows like his full dive up until the point where it's pretty much too late. And it's pretty, when you understand what's going on and the extreme danger this guy is in, it's pretty scary. So let's get into this. Again, almost 6 minutes in, and we are just getting into it. So I had to give a bit of an introduction there. Has a little bit of background behind it and all that. So I don't know how much the Storified will talk about in this, but that's my background of it. I've already seen this tragedy before, not from Storified, but from other sources, and seen a lot about it because it's very intense. If you know anything about diving, this sort of tragedy is pretty bad. So yeah, here we go. Let's get into this.
Sinking uncontrollably 91 meters to the bottom of a blue
There,
hole.
that's the blue hole right there. This is the Dahab blue hole in Egypt. You can see I think that's like coral reef or whatever around it. And so what happens here is there's basically like essentially like a sinkhole when the land sinks in and water fills it up and then people go diving in it. This is similar to that, except it's already fully underwater offshore. But yeah, you can swim out there. It's like 300 feet deep. Those are probably divers right there. Actually, I don't know. That might be something I'm not sure. But yeah, you can swim in this. And there's no, like, I don't think any like regulation against it. I don't know about the rules and regulations of Egypt, but it's just a land feature that happens, and it just happens to get filled up with water, or it happens underwater. It's just sort of a thing. It's kind of like an underwater cave, except in this case, it's blue holes are usually just a straight down kind of thing. This one just has some very interesting features about it, and you have to be extremely careful. So yeah, here we go.
In 3 minutes, this diving instructor found himself in one of the world's most well-known...
So I didn't know that. Yuri Lipski's a diving instructor. I actually did not know that. Diving instructors they have more training than a normal diver. They will have a certain amount of hours, and they'll get a certification to actually become a diving instructor so they can train other people to dive. So that means this guy has got a certain level of experience, expertise that he can actually offer to other people. That can come with some level of strong-headedness and complacency that you don't always see. Sometimes you'll hear about diving instructors diving into caves, underwater caves, and just dying because they think that it's not a big deal. And it's a really big deal. There's a whole separate thing that when it comes to cave diving, whole separate certification process, and a lot of other different rules that you have to follow. So I think most of the diving incidents that I've heard of are either really experienced divers or diving instructors. So not saying there's anything wrong with the people that do diving a lot or diving instructors. Nothing wrong with that. They're, of course, absolutely necessary, but there tends to be a high level of incidents with these sorts of people getting into incidents that maybe they just think they can handle, and then they can't. So, yeah.
Diving accident, which started as a thrilling dive, turned into a horrifying nightmare.
That's the end of the full video right there, yeah.
Diver recorded his final moments. On April 28th, in the year 2000, during a vacation in Dahab, Egypt, the 22-year-old Russian diving instructor Yuri Lipski wanted to do a technical dive to the bottom of the deep.
I've seen this before. So you can see they call this the saddle. That's the outer edge right there at the top of the screen. You have the blue hole, which is what they call basically a really deep area that you can see like surrounded by land. that goes down really deep. They call it a blue hole because it's just a really dark blue color because of the depth. And you can see right there, this is called the arch, 53 meters below water. 53 meters, I don't usually do meters, but it's roughly yards. So 53 times 350 some feet below the water. Now, that's the deepest you need to really go. Keep in mind, this arch right here, this area where where this guy is, you look at the top there where it says length of the tunnel is 26 meters. That area, there are dead bodies in there. There are actual corpses in that, like the roof of that archway, because people have tried to go through it and have died. They've either run out of air or they got confused and then ran out of air. Most of the diving incidents tend to be people run out of air, of course, because that's kind of the biggest issue. But there are dead bodies in there. There are people who have not ever been recovered because it's not worth recovering them, just because it's super dangerous. And that there are actual dead bodies in there. Okay, they're mostly just bones now, but they've kind of stuck to the roof from buoyancy and just stuck to the. But yeah, that's how dangerous this is. There are dead bodies right there that you have to essentially swim under to get through this place, to get out of the arch and then come back up on the other side of where the saddle is. So that's how dangerous this is. this is this is really dangerous. Uh, this is no joke. So I'm laughing a little bit, but just because it's just so ridiculous that people do this without the proper training. And remember, I was saying Yuri Lipski actually called up a local or met a local diving instructor to take him down. The dive instructor said basically what happened was the dive instructor said you needed a few days of training to get trained on like trimix, so you can actually be safe to go down there and actually do this, go through the arch and make it through. And Yuri Lipski basically said, no, nothing against him, but he basically said, I don't have time for that. I don't want to do all that. So I'm just gonna go myself. And that's what I don't know if he told the instructor, that local guy in Egypt there, that actually trains people to dive through the arch and it kind of guides them through it. Yeah, he basically ignored that and went through. And there's actually a memorial for people that have died at this blue hole. It's somewhere along the beach. There's like a hill or mountain where they've carved in the names of people who have died there, and families have come to kind of pay their respect at this area because it is such a fatal diving site, which to me, that's crazy. But yeah, and people still continue to do this. And again, like I said, once you come out that arch there, you're in the middle of the ocean, kind of there. It goes down quite a ways underwater. So yeah, so here we go. Jesus. We're only 30 seconds in. I apologize for the already super lengthy introduction. I just kind of had to bring all this up because it gives a little context to this, and maybe Storified will mention all this, but I don't know if he will. I just had to get all that out. Yeah, here we go.
Blue sinkhole. He asked around for an experienced technical diver to accompany him, but they all refused, telling him that it was too dangerous since he was only staying there for 2 days.
So Storified, once again, is really good on accuracy and detail, and he actually did research this a bit. That is correct. There was one guy in particular who actually was interviewed about it and mentioned that he told him the same thing. You have to train a little bit to actually do this, and he just refused and didn't have the time for it, and yeah, did it anyway. So yeah, once again, thank you, Storified, for actually being on top of shit. I love it. Thank you so much.
And the preparations for such a dive would take weeks and special equipment. But Yuri was determined. Despite the refusals, lack of special equipment, and just 2 days to prepare, the young diving instructor decided to do the unthinkable. The Blue Hole is a massive natural sinkhole sitting just a few meters from the shore, located a few kilometers from the city. Its underwater structure reaches depths as far as 130 meters, more than 400 feet, with the bottom sloping at an angle, gradually leading to the
I
edge of
love
a
this
cliff
guy.
before
He goes through
plunging
everything. I
steeply
love
to
it.
the depths of
I didn't have to say any of
1,000
this.
meters, or 3,300 feet. Often referred to as the Diver's Cemetery.
There it is.
The approximately 100.
I love this guy. He goes through everything. I just said all of this, or most, but I love Storified. If you haven't seen his channel, he puts out a video every month or so often, and he really does his research and talks about stuff, the full story, everything that matters, and this is amazing. I love this guy. I love him. I love. I just want to kiss him. I don't take that as the wrong way, but I love this guy. I really do. Holy shit.
100-meter deep submarine sinkhole is reputed to have the most diver fatalities in the world, with estimates ranging between 130 and 200 fatalities in the last decade.
That's a lot for
making
a
it
dive
one of the
site.
most dangerous
In
diving
10 years,
occupations on the
that's a
planet.
long way.
To what extent Yuri was aware of this is uncertain. But
Probably
what he
fairly
surely
aware,
didn't
but
know is that his stubborn
again,
dive would soon
dive
become
instructor.
a nightmare. With his diving gear equipped,
This is
Yuri
the actual
entered
video.
the water at around 5 p.m. To document his journey, he wore a video camera strapped around his head to show the dive.
That was another thing about this. He wore a pretty hefty. This was the year 2000, so you can imagine they didn't have a bunch of. They had digital recording, of course, but they didn't have. We didn't have iPhones that could go down 1,000 feet or whatever like they do now. So, he had a sort of bigger kind of like video setup and stuff, and you'll see he had issues with his equipment that caused him to have it, and then he also had issues with the probably nitrogen narcosis that gave him issues with his thinking. Yeah, this I'm sure Storified will go into this, so I should probably just shut the fuck up because this guy talks about everything that I've already. Yeah. Here we go.
Perspective. Several other divers were present, as seen in the footage. What the camera doesn't show is that, according to witnesses, Yuri was not wearing an extra diving cylinder. This was a critical mistake. Without it, he risked suffering nitrogen narcosis.
Well, that's not the only thing, because just having another cylinder means if he had extra air, normal air, like I said, 80-20 nitrogen to oxygen, it really wouldn't have mattered because the concentration of nitrogen is still the same. He would have needed another tank. He really would have needed 2 tanks anyway to get through the arch because it's such a long dive to dive down that deep, then go through the arch and then come back up. That is a pretty long dive. Plus, you have to allow, at that depth, you pretty much have to allow for decompression. But he also really needed a different mixture of gas to assist with this. So he really needed like probably a trimix, maybe some sort of like a nitrox mix. I don't know everything about diving. I don't pretend to know everything about it and all the gases and all that involved and depths and all that stuff. But he probably needed more than what he had anyway. Even if he had 2 tanks, he probably needed some amount of like helium or a different level of nitrogen and oxygen. So it really, that just having 1 tank wasn't necessarily the issue for nitrogen narcosis. Nitrogen narcosis is caused by too high of a concentration of nitrogen in your blood. And it basically makes you kind of drunk. It makes you like kind of get you're kind of woozy and you don't really think straight. So yeah, and if you're not really, and he's a dive instructor, so he probably understands that. He's probably experienced nitrogen narcosis before. You kind of at some point in dives you will, because everybody experiences it at different depths, and on each dive it can be different. So it really depends. Everybody's different with it. So just having the 1 tank isn't the red flag, but having just the 1 tank kind of also is the red flag because he did not have enough in this dive to get through it. So, oh man, what Yuri? Come on, fuck. Oh man, he again just kind of not in this case not necessarily complacency, just sort of pride, thinking he can do this without incident. And he'll be the one to make it, despite the massive graveyard under the water, plus the giant wall behind him, showing off all the people who have died at this site. Yeah, this is a dangerous place. It's a really cool place, but it's also very, very dangerous. And it does make divers get complacent because they think, oh, it's right there. I can go through and make it and go back up. It's not that simple. And so, yeah, let's get back into it.
Full condition that can make divers suddenly feel drunk and incapable of making rational decisions. As Yuri descended, he slowly started moving away from the group, and the number of people around him decreased. Soon, it was just Yuri and his rolling camera. At first, everything seemed fine. The sunlight grew dimmer as Yuri slowly sank deeper into the ocean. Whether he was aware of it or not, every few meters, his consciousness was slowly beginning to change. At 10 meters, or 33 feet below, his lungs were now only taking in half the amount of air they had been at the surface. However, he was steadily breathing denser and denser air, and his bloodstream...
And because even the air in his tanks is getting compressed, um, and this is just sort of how it works. So you're not able to take in the full amount, the air is denser, but your lungs aren't necessarily able to get the same amount of oxygen from that. But this is at 33 feet or 10 meters, or 10 yards, whatever. You go from that's about so you're going from one atmosphere at the surface of the water, one atmosphere. There's one atmosphere above you, and then you go down 33 feet. It takes above you when you're on the surface of the water. You've got 33 miles of air above you, and you go down 33 feet and you've got essentially a whole other mile of air above you at 33 feet of water. That's the pressure, the difference between air and water. Water pressure is so much more intense than air pressure. It is so much more dense. So hydrostatic pressure is pretty insane. All you need is you can have a little teeny column above you, but if it's 33 feet deep, you're getting a whole extra atmosphere of pressure on your head, on essentially your entire body, and that's all it really takes. That's just 33 feet, right? That's why you can't have 100% oxygen below like 20 or 30 feet underwater, because that oxygen becomes extremely toxic to your body. That's kind of separate from this. You can go look into this yourself. But yeah, this is a whole thing. So he's not in danger yet. We haven't gotten to the danger part yet. Eventually we'll get to it. And it gets, oh man, once you realize what's going on and you watch the actual full video of this, it is pretty fucking eerie. So here we go. Storified doing a great job. I really like this guy. Does a great job with really technical. He doesn't go super deep into it, but he does discuss like sort of the knowledge that I would know, sort of surface level knowledge of the I can't talk, the technical aspect of stuff. I like this guy. I love it. So here we go. We've got some red blood cells or whatever.
Brain was absorbing more and more nitrogen. Recreational diving guidelines forbid traveling lower than 40 meters or 130 feet.
That's yeah, normal. This is recreational diving. You can't go below 130 feet or you risk nitrogen narcosis. That is with normal air. So again, the arch is at roughly 100, 160 feet below the surface, 170 feet, whatever it is. That's just the roof of it. Usually you don't want to go near the roof because you can get snagged on stuff. And there's, like I said, there's dead bodies there too. You probably don't want to look at while you're trying to survive. So you probably want to get to 180, 200 feet. That is below recreational diving limits. And you are going to need more than just air. You can't just fill up a tank with an air compressor and hope for the best. You need specialized air, some sort of nitrox mix or preferably trimix to help you deal with the nitrogen narcosis and all that. Yeah. So this is Whoops.
Yuri was descending well beyond 40 meters, but worse still, he wasn't actively monitoring his depth. Within seconds, Yuri started sinking.
Now again, he went to the dive instructors and asked about the arch and going through it and stuff. We don't know if he was actually trying to go through it or not, because the video that he recorded didn't show that. It wasn't like modern day social media where people are like, hey, guess what, guys? I'm going to go through the arch today. No, 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 without anybody with me. He just was recording and just this happened. So we don't know his intention. I won't pretend to know it. I don't know anything about the guy. He might have just had an incident and might have been trying to push his limits a little bit and fucked up. It happens. Okay, that is very possible, and that happens in diving. But this was a very special dive site that has a very interesting obstacle that people like to go through and test their luck with. So, and again, I said he's a diving instructor and they tend to have a lot of accidents despite their training. So, it's just sort of the assumption, but I can't pretend to know what was in his mind going into this. So, again, don't take my word for that, but this is just sort of what happened.
Uncontrollably, he desperately tried to slow his descent, but to no avail. Inflating his buoyancy.
I think he actually had an issue with his buoyancy device. Yeah.
Too heavy. The water pressure increased rapidly.
So I don't know if he's going to. Storified will probably mention this. I'm not sure if he will or not. But I think it turned out that he actually had an issue with his BCD, the buoyancy compensation device that he was wearing. And because he's wearing all this extra like camera gear or whatever to record the dive, he didn't take into account all that. And his BCD actually had a leak in it. So he can pump all the air he wants into it. He had a leak and it's getting leaked out and he's constantly sinking because he has all this heavy gear on him. He's constantly sinking rather than maintaining a neutral buoyancy. So in diving, you generally want to maintain a neutral buoyancy and slowly descend or slowly ascend to control multiple things. But in this case, it seemed like he had too much weight plus an issue with his BCD. And that ended up making him go essentially all the way to the bottom. And that's really what ended up killing him. There were a multitude of things that come into play here, but why he went that deep to begin with is kind of the question. But why he couldn't get back up is not really a question. He had multiple issues that all compounded and really fucked him. So, yeah.
Which in turn increased the pressure inside Yuri's lungs. He began to panic. The surface of the water continued to disappear above him, and nitrogen...
He didn't really panic that much. If you watch the full video, you don't really see him panicking that much, and I will give him that. He seems to be maintaining his control, but he ends up, you see him literally crash into the bottom of the blue hole, at which point he's on one tank. He doesn't have his BCD is leaking. He's going to either have to drop gear, which the heaviest thing he has on him is his air tank. So you can't really drop that. So, yeah, this was a tragic video. It's really unfortunate. I urge you to actually go watch the full video. It is knowing more about it. You may, if you just watch it without knowing anything, it just seems like okay, what am I watching right now? When you know a little bit more about what's going on, and you'll see him looking at his dive computer, it's just kind of on his wrist, it's just a digital display. Him looking at it when he hits the bottom and he's at like 120 meters down or whatever it is kind of terrifying. I would never want to be in that situation. And yeah, he's just at that point he is dead. He's already past his point. So he doesn't actually die in the video that we can see, but he is, for all intents and purposes, dead. Very unfortunate. Again, to Yuri Lipski's family, I know it's been a while, so this probably isn't going to hit that hard, but, I'm very sorry about this. This was a tragic event to see on video, and it got put out on the internet, and everybody can see it, and it's very unfortunate, because the guy that he actually went and talked to, the instructor, actually dove down and recovered Yuri's video from his body, brought it back up, and then showed it to the family. And then I think either he put it online or something. It was like a VHS tape or some sort of digital recording, whatever, that ended up getting put online. And so, as like kind of a warning to other divers maybe, but it's, yeah. So this pretty crazy. Yeah. Ugh.
Narcosis impaired his
Gonna try and
mobility
let it play
and
without
distorted his
interrupting.
mind the
We're already at a
further
half
he
hour
plummeted.
here.
In what seemed like mere seconds, he was past 80 meters, more than twice the limit for recreational diving.
Yeah.
In a desperate attempt to rise to the surface, he tried to inflate his buoyancy control device even more, but it was already full, and suddenly it burst open.
Oh.
Air rushed out of his chest, sealing
Yeah.
his fate. Finally, at just over 91 meters, Yuri landed face down at the bottom of the sea. At 5:11 p.m. on April 28, 2000, the camera stopped recording. Yet
Oh, I don't know if I've ever seen the end of that video where it stopped recording. That's kind of interesting. He has that video on him. Because you can, in the video that's on YouTube, you can see him sort of struggling at the bottom to recover what's going on and try and figure out something to do. But you don't see him just land at the bottom and stop working the problem. He continues to work the problem, but kind of just ends up not being able to. And again, he's on a slope edging towards, the exit of the arch at the bottom towards, 3,000 feet of water. So, yeah, he's kind of hits the bottom and sort of starts sliding down the hill from what I could tell in the original video. So, but yeah, yeah. Ugh.
remarkably, this isn't the last thing the camera would ever capture. Roughly a week
No
later,
way.
on May 5th,
I didn't realize that the guy who recovered it actually, I guess, ended up turning it on, maybe hitting record or something. And this is the guy that he talked to, the instructor that actually went down, recovered the video camera, and actually, oh wow, that's crazy, dude. Again, Storified coming in with the deets, man. I love this guy. I love him. Fuck, or whoever's behind this channel. I don't know. It's just, the voice sounds like a guy, so I don't know. But yeah, this is great. I haven't seen that before ever, so this is really cool. Oy.
and be turned on.
Not
this time,
great,
in the hands of a local Egyptian technical diver
this guy,
named
yeah,
Tarek Omar.
technical diver. That's what they call
what he
it.
discovered
So
that day.
a technical diver is someone who goes beyond recreational limits and uses different gases and stuff. They call it technical diving. It's more advanced than normal diving. Diving is already pretty complicated, and then you get into other gas mixtures and stuff, and you end up very, I guess, technical about it. So this is the guy I saw originally that did the interview talking about Yuri Lipski and all that. So pretty wild. Again, Storified. Fuck, you're coming through, man.
Would send shivers down your spine. In the span of just over 7 minutes, Yuri had gone from standing on a sunny beach to lying dead on the bottom of the blue hole, and he had captured the whole thing on video. Now, he was a grisly discovery waiting to be found. The man in charge of finding him was Tarek Omar.
Mm-hmm.
As the local diving expert with vast rescue experience, Tarek Omar had the unenviable task of being the guy to
again, rescue diver. This guy is a hero. Tarek Omar, thank you for your service. This guy is a hero, and also one of the people I believe that Yuri actually consulted about diving in the blue hole, and he told him, don't. Don't go as deep as you think you can, because you can't. And yeah, this is really tragic.
When accidents happen at the world's deadliest diving site. After Yuri did not return from his dive at the Blue Hole, Omar got the call he never looks forward to getting. Omar treats every emergency like a rescue mission, but sadly, all too often they end up being about simply recovering the body.
Yeah.
The case of Yuri Lipski was no different. First, Omar had to enter the Blue Hole and examine the situation.
This is, that's, if I can.
The site is so big that this took an entire
It's a huge site.
I just want to.
I'm going to go back and try and pause at the right time. There we go. Okay, kind of good enough. You can go look at the Google Maps of this place. It is a really gorgeous dive site. This is a huge dive site. Right in that part there where it's blue, goes 300 feet down roughly. That is 300 to 340 feet down. It is a wild place. It really is. This is a really cool dive site. And it attracts all sorts of people, including those that don't think they have a death wish, but turns out they, death had a wish for them, apparently. So, yeah. Man, that's tragic. It's such a beautiful place, and it kind of sucks that it's so associated with death in this way. Yeah. This is over in Egypt. You can go there yourself and do your thing, but yeah, please be careful. Holy shit.
And the situation. The site is so big that this took an entire day. Omar says he eventually found Yuri lying face down on the ocean floor, motionless. There was nothing Omar could do. Yuri had clearly been dead since well before anyone knew he was missing. On the second day, Omar re-entered the water, this time to recover Yuri's body. Now, the only thing for Omar left to do was to figure out what really...
That's a rough dive, too, because you're not only diving to, you're not diving for recreation. Now you're for fun. You're diving for a mission, and you go down to get imagine. So think about, if you've ever been in a pool, 8, 10, 12 feet deep, and there's a thing at the bottom, and you want to dive down and get it, and you try to dive down and get it, you couldn't get it, and you ran out of air, and you had to come back up, and just free diving, not scuba diving, and you try to do that, and you're like, oh shit, and then you got to go back down and go and come back. Maybe you miss it again. You got to go back up, and maybe it's something heavy and you couldn't get it up. Maybe it's a person that you're trying to recover, and you couldn't get them out of the bottom. It sucks because you have to keep coming up and going back down because you're running out of air. Same thing in this situation. You're scuba diving. You only have a limited amount of time to go down there and actually try and recover what you can and come back up. So that's a whole thing. So, again, props to this guy. What an amazing guy. Tarek Omar, just doing his thing, trying to keep people safe and even rescue people. And unfortunately, sometimes recover things that, people don't necessarily, want to see.
Happened. He noticed several things about the state Yuri was in. One was that, according to Omar, Yuri had about 12 kilograms of lead on his belt, which, combined with his other equipment, suggested Yuri was carrying too much weight for such a dangerous dive. Omar also noticed Yuri's ruptured buoyancy compensator, as well as the fact that he apparently entered the water with only 12 liters of compressed air.
Only 12
But that's not
liters.
all. In addition, Omar spotted Yuri's camera. Initially, he assumed it was broken because that particular type of camera is only supposed to work at a maximum depth of 75 meters. But considering it part of the evidence to collect, he brought it up to the surface along with Yuri's equipment and his lifeless body. Mistakenly, Omar thought this part in the ordeal was now over. It was only after contacting local authorities and sorting through the wreckage that Tarek Omar made a heart-stopping discovery. The camera had survived. Not only that, but the video it had captured during the dive was still intact. Omar likely became the first person to view what is now one of the most viewed diving videos ever recorded. As devastating as it was to watch, Omar says the video seemed to confirm many of his suspicions. He now believes Yuri died due to 3 main causes. 1, his gear made him too heavy. 2, his vest failed. And 3, most importantly, he clearly suffered from acute nitrogen narcosis. But even watching the video and having his worst fears confirmed wasn't the most difficult part for Omar. Yuri's mother was in Dahab. In fact,
his family came. Obviously, he was supposed to be back home, and his family ended up coming to Dahab, and they had to, unfortunately, I'm sure, watch this video of what happened. Oh, boy. Again, go watch the video. It is pretty heart-wrenching. Once you know what's really going on, it's pretty bad. It sucks. Yeah.
Who had originally contacted Omar, saying she hadn't heard from her son and was worried for his safety. Omar later said that if he had known about the footage on the video camera, he would have, in his words, flooded it. No mother should have to see her own son drowning on camera, but instead, Yuri's belongings were returned to his mother. including the camera with the harrowing footage on it.
Now, the video on YouTube doesn't show him actually drowning in the final moments and all that, but it does show enough that if you know what's going on, you can kind of gauge what the problem is. And yeah, if you know enough background, enough about the story, and then you see the video, you can kind of tell this guy is pretty much already dead. It doesn't show the full footage, of course, and I haven't even seen that one where he brings it back up and starts recording again on the camera, which is crazy. So that's pretty wild. Man, this is a tragic story. This really is. This is just one guy out of many who have died in this blue hole, but yeah, it deserves some attention because it just goes to show you, even some of the best people out there. This guy was a diving instructor. He trains other people to go diving. Some of the best people out there can run into issues that can absolutely kill them. And sometimes there's just absolutely nothing they can do. And it gives you a sense of helplessness that is really sucks. Ugh.
Omar says he remains haunted by the knowledge that Yuri's mother had to see what even complete strangers find unwatchable. But he actually had a chance to stop Yuri from doing the dive that ultimately took his life.
I mentioned this.
Tarek Omar had actually met Yuri Lipski when Yuri was walking around Dahab, trying to find a diving partner. Like the others, Tarek had strongly warned Yuri against attempting the dive. He knew from experience that something like this was all too likely to happen. But tragically, like all the rest, Yuri ignored his warnings. Instead, Yuri became, in a very dark sense, the most famous diver in the world.
That's crazy. And I mentioned this, and again, Storified has got the full story. Of course, it's in his name, I guess. He's got the full story, knows what's going on. They're very tragic. And this is his plaque that's at the sort of the mount. Is that Karl Marx? What the fuck? What? Oh, is that like in memory of Karl Marx? Holy shit. That's kind of crazy. I don't know what that is. But up here, you can see Yuri Lipski, 77 to 2000. He was, 23 years old? So, very young guy. Diving instructor already at 23. Very cool. Very clearly, very ambitious guy. And yeah, that's crazy. This is, I guess is that Russian or what is it? Looks like Greek, or I guess that's Cyrillic. But yeah, he's got a plaque there. They're probably one of the more famous people who has died here, not by his own doing, sort of by his own doing, but not on purpose. Yeah, and he's got a plaque there on the sort of mountain behind the dive site. That sort of the memorial of people who have died here. This sucks, man. This really sucks.
At least for that time. While Yuri's death may have deterred many from ever getting in a diving suit, it has also served as a profound cautionary tale for over 2 decades within the sport. Today, the cliffside by the entrance to the Blue Hole is littered with tombstones and small memorials.
Yeah.
One of the most prominent reads, Yuri Lipski, October 1st, 1977 to April 28th, 2000. You will always be with us, Mama.
Wow. That was, oh man, oh shit. Oh no. That's actually, this is Dive Talk. If you've never seen Dive Talk, they're really fun. I'll post them in the description because that's a fun channel. And they talk about a lot of diving incidents that are fatal and some not fatal. But yeah, a couple of, these guys are actually cave divers. So they are pretty crazy people, but they're still alive and they do their thing. That's Woody right there. Woody's fun. Woody and Gus, they are cave divers, and yeah, they do their own thing, and they have a lot of fun with it. They have their own YouTube channel called Dive Talk. I'll link it below. But oh man, that wow, Storified. I got a little teary eye there at the end. It's just that plaque was like from his mom. So like, oh, that really hit me. It was, can you, oh no, hold on. Let me compose myself here. Um, Diving is dangerous. Cave diving, even more dangerous. But yeah, it, oh, don't, don't do something stupid to where your mom is going to have to come and figure out what happened and then put up a plaque for you. Like, oh man. Oh, that's tragic, dude. That really is. That's crazy. That again, the story of Yuri Lipski. Again, you can find that video of him. Most of the video, it's not the full video, but the video of him diving down into the bottom of the blue hole and sort of getting stuck there. Um, yeah, uh, very tragic. This is a really sad story. I don't know why I decided to cover it, but here we are. We got very, oh, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this. This was not even a fun video. Even the nuclear tragedy I talked about a couple of videos ago was a little more fun than this because I had more to say, but I kind of didn't know what was going to happen. This one I already knew what was going to happen, um, because I've seen this story plenty of times and I've seen the video again. You can see it on YouTube. Oh, just be careful out there if you're going to go diving. If you're going to do anything remotely dangerous like this, please be careful. Uh, think about what you're doing. Have people with you. People with him may have been able to actually help him out a bit, but you never know. So thanks for watching. This is another one. Try, fail, repeat. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever the motto is. Yeah. Peace.